Carly, and I have the very fortunate presenting time slot of going after the amazing Renee, who gets to talk about all the fun toys, and before dinner. So thanks, Warren. So to wake everybody up, I just want to show you guys a video of what some of my friends had to say about apps.
The guy Pogo can do anything.
Anything? Oh yeah. If you want to comb your cat, there's an app for that. If you have to fix a flat, there's an app for that. Need a word that rhymes with that? Or a place to hang your hat. Got a chimp who likes to chat. There's an app, there's an app, there's an app for that. If your butter needs a pat, there's an app for that. If you need to rat-a-tat-tat, there's an app for that. Gotta practice singing scat. Wanna meet a boy named Matt?
Hi, I'm Matt. Nice to meet you.
Count to 10 in no time flat.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
There's an app, there's an app, there's an app for that.
So I bet you saw some apps that you maybe haven't heard of. Someone yesterday said that the Muppets are verging on crazy. I don't know what they're talking about. Totally normal. So I come from an organization called the Joan Ganz Cooney Center. We are housed at Sesame Workshop, the creators of Sesame Street. And we were established just over 4 years ago to answer a question that an independent television producer named Joan Ganz Cooney asked over 40 years ago, which was, how can emerging media help children learn? Well, at the time, her answer to that question was a television show called Sesame Street. But here we are, just over 40 years later, and although the medium that children are consuming has drastically changed, the question, how can emerging media help children learn, is probably more important than ever. So Sesame Workshop, Mrs. Cooney, and other partners established our organization. We are housed at the workshop, but we don't work on Sesame Street or the electric company or any of the other workshop properties. We do research and conferences and programs like our prize program, which are all dedicated to helping build the field of children's digital media and learning. So before I dive into some of our more recent research, I wanted to talk about this report that we launched with just over 4 years ago called Theas for Digital. And we interviewed a bunch of experts in the field, including a number of you in this room, and came up with 5 trends that were shaping the field of digital media. And I thought it would be interesting to look back at what we labeled as the top 5. So this was in 2007. So virtual worlds, the Wii and casual gaming, video content on the web. So it seems like we were pretty accurate. User-generated content. Does anyone want to guess what the 5th trend was in 2007 that we thought would shape the future of kids media?
Angry Birds.
Angry Birds? Totally. If I guessed that, I'd be rolling in the dough. Anyone want to guess?
Mobile.
Social media.
No. I thought you would guess mobile. And the answer is transmedia. We didn't call it transmedia, but that's what we meant. But I threw that out there because I thought people would guess mobile.
So, right.
We talked to a lot of really smart people. Mobile wasn't even on our radar. So this is kind of fascinating. I know everyone talks about how quickly it has come up, but it is true. So then in 2009, people started talking about this idea of but I think that the general consensus in the field was sort of, are people really going to pass a very expensive device to their child and let them use it? So we did a content analysis, which means just what we did is we looked at the top 100 best-selling paid apps in the education section of the iTunes Store. So we just wanted to see what they were all about. Duck Duck Moose's Wheels on the Bus have been the top-selling app for quite some time. But what we found was pretty surprising, which was that if you add up the numbers in the toddler, preschool, and elementary groups here, about half of the apps in the top 100 selling paid apps in iTunes targeted children. So for anyone who is still wondering, okay, are parents really going to let kids do this? Are kids really going to do this? This kind of was a resounding yes for us. what was even more interesting was that when we drilled down to look at the top 25 best-selling paid apps, toddler and preschool apps made up 60% of them. So there was a very clear market here. One thing I was just talking to Scott about is that you notice on this slide and the previous one, there is a dip amongst the elementary age school children, and there has always been a dip amongst the elementary age school children when it comes to educational and quality media for kids. So I think this is both a challenge and an opportunity. So, to kind of summarize what we wanted to start looking into, we called it the passback effect, which does appear to be a real phenomenon, which is the idea that a parent or other adult passes a child over to their children. In some research that we recently did, we found that 85% of kids who used iPhone and iPad apps used their parents' device. So, this idea of a passback effect is actually quite interesting. I mean, I think most of us in this room are all like, yeah, of course, parents are letting their kids use these devices, but parents' tools have always been amongst kids' favorite toys. If you look at a lawnmower that blows bubbles or a toy phone, kids want to play with what their parents have. But they have traditionally played with plastic or children's versions of adult products. And for the first time, I think they're really playing with the real thing. So this is a pretty magical and new phenomenon. So we released a report just a few months ago called Learning, Is There an App for That? And I only have about 10 minutes to talk about an 80-page report, so I'm not going to be able to cover too much of it. The report covers 3 studies. One that we did with Sesame Workshop that covered discussed usability and appeal and ownership of specifically iPod touches. One that we did with Jennifer's team at PBS that talked about, tried to figure out whether kids can really learn from these apps, and we looked into the Super Y and Martha Speaks apps. And we did a parent survey of 1,000 parents to kind of understand their attitudes. So I tried to pull out what I think are kind of 5 key things that will be interesting to you, but this study is available on our website, and I'm happy to talk to you more about it after. Number 1, kids are passed back the device most often while traveling, not surprisingly, but home usage is prominent. So over 60% of kids said that they were using the device in the car. But what was more interesting to me is that about 40% of them said they were using this at home. And now I should mention the iPad was not included in this study. So this is iPhone and iPod Touch, and we also covered a few other mobile devices. So kids were using these devices in the home even when it wasn't an iPad, and competing against things like the Wii, like the TV. So it's a design challenge to design something that can be used both on the go and in a home setting. Number 2, parents often let their child play frequently, but in short bursts. So most parents who own a device do sometimes let their child use it. Of the parents who do let their children use it, they do so quite frequently, with the majority saying that they allow their child to use their device several times a week. But it does seem to be like each session is short. So the typical session lasts 20 minutes or less, and many times lasts under 10 minutes. So important to keep that in mind in your design. Number 3, this was a fun one. Children relate smart mobile devices to fun over function. So what this graph here shows is we asked kids to rank 8 devices, and you can see them here, things ranging from the DS to the BlackBerry. And not surprisingly, the Nintendo devices ranked 1 and 2, with the DS and the Wii. But the iPhone did come ahead of the things like the TV and the computer. So it's kind of interesting to see the ranking, and I would love to do this again, and I would love to include an iPad. So if anyone's done research on that, I'd be really curious to see it. This was a really fun question. We asked children just to describe, the children whose parents had an iPhone or an iPad, we said, just describe that device. What is an iPhone to you? And over half of the children described them as something fun or something cool, with more saying it's something that I play games on. What's more interesting is what the kids didn't describe it as. So children didn't really describe the device as my mom's device, or the device or the phone, my dad's phone, my dad uses it for work, my mom uses it for work. So kids are seeing these devices as something for them, as something that's fun, as something that's cool, and so that's pretty neat. Children are exceedingly adept at using smart mobile devices, but they do get lost and they do need scaffolding. Now, I don't want to be the big, naysayer in the room. I could not agree more that the touch screen is magical, and I could not agree more with Claire that the finger is a magic wand. But kids are still kids, and they can sometimes get lost. And just want to show you this video of some research we did actually with PBS.
You pressed this.
What'd you do?
I did.
Did you want to do that?
No.
No? Okay. What do you want to do?
Hey, I don't know where to take a super wide.
How do you get back there?
I don't know.
What should you push, do you think?
This.
So she did get lost, and she did find her own way back. But you can see that kids do sometimes need a little bit of adult help and adult scaffolding, and I think some of the best design apps would account for that, and try to figure out how parents can be part of the experience so that kids don't get lost on their own. Parents play a significant role in the mobile media revolution. So parents are...
Who's that baby?
Yeah, so the most important part of this slide is the really cute baby in the upper corner. That's my daughter. And so
Yay!
Thank you. I was
Longitudinal
having
study.
way more fun this year than I was last year at this time, because my daughter's birthday is May 25th, so I'll let you guess what I was doing a year ago. And so the bar isn't very high. So the most interesting thing to me, though, that we found about the role of parents is the idea of parents as playmates. And we talked about intergenerational a little bit. That, for us at the Cooney Center, is a huge thing that we try to work on. So children in our studies really reported that they want to have their parents as playmates with these devices. 97% said they like it when they play with someone else using the iPhone or iPod Touch. 61% said they prefer to use the iPhone or iPod Touch with someone else more than by themselves. And then, as opposed to that, about a third of parents reported that they rarely or never interact with their child around these devices. So I think if you can very intentionally build in intergenerational experiences. I loved that a few of you have mentioned that you're doing that. Toontastic, I know, said they were doing that. I think that is very powerful. I think it's a huge opportunity. If you look at the success of something like the Wii, I really feel that it's because it created magical intergenerational experiences. And who is going to be doing that on the iPad and the other tablets and mobile devices? It's a big opportunity. So that is an 80-page study. I still have 3 minutes left, yay, because I wanted to talk to you about a few things that are new and coming down the road from the Cooney Center. Always Connected, we released it a month ago. I'm not going to talk too much about it. Took a look at all of the different studies that are out there from organizations like the Kaiser Family Foundation and us and Sesame, and tried to bring them under one roof and summarize them essentially. So if you're looking for stats on kids' media usage, this is a really good source. And I'm not going to present much more than that. I can talk to you about it after if you want. Families Matter. This is a study by Lori Takeuchi. We just launched it at the Cooney Center Forum in Hollywood last week. And basically it combines in-depth case studies with a small number of children with a large national survey of parents. And just a few interesting findings. More than a third of parents say they have learned something technical from their child. Parents' greatest concerns, lack of exercise and online privacy. Interesting. Fewer than 1 in 5 parents think their kids spend too much time with digital media. So maybe this isn't as much of a concern as some people seem to think it is for parents. That being said, nearly 2/3 of parents restrict their kids' media usage. And this rule setting seems to peak at age 7. And just in general, and I can't really do this point justice in the time I have left, a lot happens at age 7. There seems to be a big shift in the types of apps that kids are using, and the way they're interacting with media, and in their parents' attitudes around them with media. So there's something to look into there. So Families Matter, I don't actually think you can download it yet, but it's going to be out over the next week or so, maybe 2 weeks. But I'd be happy to send you an advanced copy and check it out. So, in my last few minutes, I want to talk about the CodeNice Enterprise program, because this is a really great opportunity for developers. It was launched in 2009, and we awarded prizes in both the area of mobile and literacy. A $50,000 prize was awarded to a great group called Project Noah. And I would like to talk about our other 2 semi-finalists who are both here, Toontastic and Motion Math. Yay, I think you guys are both awesome. You know, we really want to ignite innovation in this field through our prize program and our incentives. Our 2010 program focused on STEM. It was launched at the White House, and we awarded $75,000 to 2 developers, one in the area of social gaming and one just more general to anyone with a great idea in STEM. And we also awarded a collegiate prize, which I'm going to end with a video on that. And our 2011 program will be launching this fall, so keep an eye out for it, because it's going to be good. So I'm going to end with a video, but I just want to leave you guys with one thought that I'm noodling over a lot lately, which is that it took us a really, really long time to get over this barrier of TV is bad for kids to the idea of, oh, maybe TV can actually teach something. And we are still trying to get over this barrier of, oh, video games are really bad for kids, and maybe they can actually be good. So we're at a really seminal point with apps. Are we going to have to battle that, or can we just have them be accepted from the get-go as something that could be really great? So I hope that we can. Thank you for having me. I'm just going to play a video as I exit here.
I am Jacob Andrew Cawthorn. I live in Reno, Nevada, and I am in the 6th grade.
Hi, my name is Shreen, and I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Hi, my name is Mark Fretheim, and I live in Garland, Texas.
I'm Jasper Huguenin from Mercer Island, Washington. I'm in the 7th grade.
My name is Annie, and I go to the Nightingale Bamford School in New York City.
My name is Mohammed Al-Fatih Rida. I'm a homeschooling 8th grader, and my favorite subjects are math and science.
My name is Kendall McGowan. I'm a 7th grader in Brookline, Massachusetts.
Hello, my name is Joshua, and I'm 10 years old.
I'm Bailey Sperling, a 6th grade in Saffron, New York.
My name is Jeffrey. I live in Wayland, Massachusetts. I'm a 5th grader.
My name is Tate Wealthy. I go to Orono Schools as a 5th grader.
My name is Reese Wilkinson. I'm 9 years old. I live in Maynard, Texas.
When I was 3 years old, I played my first video game.
I'm a really big fan of simulation games.
Computer games, RPG, adventure, and action.
I like story games the same way I like reading. It's like the person who made the game has got this whole universe made up.
I got into game making when I was 10. I decided, why was I playing the games? Why don't I make my own game?
The first really interesting program I wrote was a program to teach me my multiplication tables.
My goals for the game was to make it educational.
I wanted this game to be fun, but I also wanted to inform kids about the ocean while they play.
I created this game because I wanted as many kids as possible to learn how to program.
About sustainability. If you eat all the plants too quickly, then you won't have any left.
I designed it so that the player would use their imagination and creativity to help clean up the world's environmental problems.
I had to start out kind of simple,
drawing the sprites with stick figures and everything.
While I was making my game, I used comments from my teacher, classmates, and friends to make my game more fun.
Probably my favorite part of building this game was testing it. I built a game that I enjoyed playing.
It teaches a lesson about teamwork.
After that, I took the game and gave it to my cousins. This is my user testing code. And then I took the feedback, made it better, and then gave it back to them and see what they said.
Then I had my dad play it to make sure it was challenging enough for adults.
This is a lot harder than I thought.
My dad really loves video games.
It gives kids power and can be very empowering for everyone to learn how to program.
Hopefully in the near future, I will find the time to create an even more interesting story rather than just a simple adventure game.
I'm gonna be even better, even cooler, and even funnier.
When I grow up, I want to be a computer programmer.
I might be a doctor when I grow up.
I want to be a professional video game tester or a professional video game designer.
You'll be seeing me making games in the future.
Questions?
So what are the next big research questions that are unanswered?
Great question. I mean, there are so many. I can talk about some of the things that we're looking into. The idea of intergenerational is a big one for us, and how we can really encourage intergenerational play, particularly on some of these new devices is a big question. Kind of following under that is the idea of what is a question that we call what is the new co-viewing. So Sesame Street was very intentionally designed to be co-viewed, so viewed by the parent and the child at the same time as a shared experience. And that's part of the reason why, people ranging from Tony Bennett to, some of the more recent celebrities appear on the shows, because a 3-year-old doesn't know who they are. It's to appeal to the parents. So how can we bring some of those features to the interactive media is another question that we're looking into.
Do you have a research question? I've got lots. Let me just ask the group, what research questions do you think are relevant right now? New research questions. What should the Cooney Center look at?
Will a child learn to read better through the print book or the e-book?
Great question. Anyone else? Let's machine gun these. That means fast.
Is there such a thing as game addiction?
Great question. Any other research questions? Claire?
Can you measure a child's love of reading between the two different mediums? Can you measure? How about? Never mind. I'm too hungry. I can't.
Darren, there's one way in the back. No, I'm just joking. Barbara.
Can we drill down the social influences? What kind of social influences provide incentives? What kind of peer-to-peer contacts, peer to other peer contacts, peer to family, and what kind of behaviors could those change?
What about the effects of Facebook? What's all that about, and what does it mean? And here's another one I'd love, is give cameras in homes. Do this sort of Jane Goodall modern digital ethnography.
Great.
Put the cameras inside the homes. Let the kids control the cameras, either keep diaries and so on, but make it a little more guerrilla. I know Ida has done some of this, but and analyze that. More thick description, so we really know what's kind of going on it. And I think we would get to the reality of sort of how kids what they're using and how they use it. Anybody else? So great questions. Great questions. This group is.
I heard on the radio a couple days ago that in Detroit, 48% approximately, not perfect memory, but about that many people are functionally illiterate. And I keep, like a third of all adults can't read, and children, a third of them drop out of school or leave school illiterate every year. And I would just love to see what could have an impact on that, and like encourage that every way you can, because how can we survive in that condition? And I feel like we're skimming over the whole, not you, but the whole way money works in the field. We're skimming over that, and I just don't think we can forget it. And there's people that could do fabulous things that need encouragement. The financial model might not be there. Like how to get that to happen.
I would love, we don't have to stop now, but if people could send these questions my way, we're always setting our next research agendas. So I would love it if people would send us our questions, and we're always open to working with developers also. If you want to partner, please do approach us.
The other one is how are kids, tweens and teens, using YouTube University and, you know, some of those online sites for doing research and homework and all that. You know, what's the impact?
Back in the days of Sesame Street, they did a study on the level of preparedness that the preschool students had going through Sesame Street, and then the loss of that once they got into the system. It'd be interesting to see what the preschool or prep preparedness is out of some of these games and how quickly they lose them when they get into the system.
I'd be curious to have teachers involved in a survey to find out what they think is needed in this whole arena in the classroom.
We actually had, we just released a study in Common Sense Media, actually. We're really the owners of it. And you can find that, I believe, on our website. If it's not up there yet, you can shoot me an email and I will make sure you get that.
Use of sporadic media, short session media like social media or texting, and attention, and the terrain of attention. I don't want to say, you know, just attention deficit, because there are many other vectors in that space. So how does it change attention characteristics?
Something I'm really interested in too, someone mentioned ebooks, and I just want to share something really cool that I just heard, which is that the monster at the end of this book, which is the Sesame Street book and now ebook, sales were, there was a sales spike when we launched our app that was higher than any spike since we launched the actual book, a sales spike of the actual physical books. So maybe ebooks are actually, you know, increasing, not taking away from traditional book.
It would be great if they did.
What new kinds of assessments would be possible beyond you know, fill in the blank, or even filling out short answers on these new devices, new mediums?
I've got one about how hard is it to get a wireless microphone?
I have an answer.
I would be interested in hearing if there's research or suggesting research on buying patterns of parents, and particularly in the context of the teaching or educational value or quality of apps. I think many people would agree they don't necessarily correlate, at least the rankings in iTunes don't correlate.
I'm hungry.
Yeah. Thanks, Carly.